Okay, let's talk a little bit about asset management. Okay, so as I mentioned, right, Israel actually has been over the decades a great place for people to invest their money. Okay, it's got a developed stock exchange, the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange, right? Huge presence of Israeli companies on the NASDAQ, a lot of high tech, a lot of venture capital that has come into Israel especially over the last decade, right? Everybody's probably heard about the real estate market, right? How prices have come up. Obviously, for the people that are living there, it's much better because they have been in the market and saw the increase in prices. But it's been a great place to invest your money in the Israeli market. Okay, when you're thinking about making Aliyah, one of the most important questions that people will ask is, what do I do with my assets? Do I keep my assets here in my home country, or do I transition them to Israel? Okay, so I'm going to give you some of the reasons why you should be considering bringing some of your money to Israel. So first of all, when you're making Aliyah, you have currency risk if you keep all of your assets in dollars. Now, I know it might not sound, so strange to think that your assets are in dollars, because right now you're spending dollars. You're living in a country which is completely dollar-based, right? The average American portfolio, even if they have international diversification, might have 10 to 15% internationally diversified. Okay, but in Israel, you're not now going to be exposed 100% to the dollar. You're going to be living in a completely different financial environment. The analogy that I like to give to people is that if you were living here and you went to your financial planner and they told you that I have a great idea for you, I think that we should take your money and invest it in Japan. Why Japan? Because I think Japan is a great country and it's got a nice upside. The stock market hasn't been doing well for many years, and now it's started to really come up. And I think it's going to be a great idea to have your money in Japan. Okay. Now, even if you would agree with your financial planner, your investment manager, and say that the idea makes sense, I don't think that there are very many people who will take 100% of your money and move it over there into Japan, into yen. Now, why? Why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't you? If you thought it was a great idea, why would I not move all my money over there into yen? Because you're not diversified. But it's not even just because you're not diversified. It's because you living here in dollars, right, are exposed to what's happening in the dollar world. Right? If you're living in Japan, they're making decisions about investments, about currency, about inflation, how to control inflation, debt numbers, right? All those are things that they're making decisions for their local population. In fact, right, they are even potentially controlling currency and the ability to move money in and out of a country. So while in the United States, we don't have currency controls, and we don't have we're not limited in terms of our ability to move money in or out. We have no idea what's really going to happen in the long run with the US dollar or with the US economy. And the decisions that are being made over here are made for US citizens. We're seeing this really be played out right now as we're speaking, in the days and the weeks that we've seen in the past with all the tariff discussions, right? Tariffs are a form of protectionism, right? And they are meant to protect American jobs, and it's going to have an impact on the American dollar and the strength. So if you're living there in Israel and you only have dollar exposure, so then what you're doing is you're tying yourself to a foreign country, which is now America, because you're not living there anymore. And so not only just because of the currency, because we don't know what's going to happen with the dollar in the long run, right? And you should all know that, I'll show you a chart in a few minutes, that the Israeli shekel has been the strongest Western currency over the last 20 plus years in the world. Okay, it's actually appreciated against the dollar. While the dollar is appreciated against most currencies worldwide, the shekel has actually appreciated over the last 20 plus years. Okay, it's a major inflation hedge to have money in shekels. Why? Because if there's all of a sudden high inflation in Israel and you have your money in shekels, you can invest it and have it linked to the inflation rate. But if you're tying it to the dollar and all of a sudden, the dollar, devalues, you're not going to be linked to that currency. Okay, we talked about the diversification, country risk, right? Most people, when they're investing with their general investment portfolio, whether it's in the US or Canada or the UK or Germany, have the largest amount of their portfolio in their local currency. And there's a good reason for that, because they want accessibility, because they want to have exposure to the local economy and to the companies that they're investing in. And yes, I know the United States is the largest economy in the world. And yes, we've lived through a period of time, especially in the last decade, where the American market has outperformed almost all other Western markets in the world. But there is something that's called reversion to mean. And we don't know what's going to be in the future. And so when you're transitioning, you want to think about moving money to Israel. Now, I'm not telling you, and please don't go out and say, oh, I said everybody should move all their money to Israel. No, but you have to ask the question. You have to think about where it is appropriate for you to have your money. And especially if you're creating a plan where you are accessing and you're living off of dollars because you can't move your money to Israel. So what's an example? So what's an example of a source of income that you can't move to Israel? Pension, I heard here, right? Social security, right? You can't move that to Israel. You can't move your social security. I mean, yes, you can deposit it to Israel in shekels, into your Israeli bank account in shekels. It'll get converted for you automatically and deposited in your bank. But you can't take away the currency risk because it's going to be paid to you in dollars every month. Same thing with your retirement accounts. Now, you can take out money from your retirement accounts in a lump sum and bring it into income and pay taxes on it, but most people don't do that. Most people will continue to slowly draw down their retirement savings because you don't want to take in too much of that into income in any one year, because then it'll increase your tax exposure. So instead, right, you're going to have dollar exposure. So if you have a high amount of dollar exposure in retirement accounts or Social Security, so then you might want to look at some of your other assets being invested in shekels. If it's the opposite, let's say you're coming to Israel when you're younger and you're working and you're going to be saving money in shekels because you have retirement accounts that are being opened up and contributed to, like I mentioned, like that 20 to 30% that's being contributed in shekels, even though it's not all shekel exposure, because a lot of the Israeli pensions also invest in international and dollar-based investments. But if you have more of an Israeli exposure with your income, so then you might want to keep more of your assets in dollars. Okay, so you really have to personalize it.